Hey, if you've got this part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks, Thursday night. It's the 11th of July. It's 8 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, 9 Eastern, 7 Mountain, 6 Pacific. If you're listening live or you came out live, and I see a few of you out there joining us live, welcome. If you catch the recorded version of this on YouTube on our recorded channel or our live channel, hang tight. We'll get started here in just a second. This is just the pre-show. We're kind of waiting for all the notifications to go off and everybody to get in here. And if you want to watch the edited version of this, of course, you can head over to theaverageguy.tv. They're all there. Jay Mattison is with us tonight. Jay, thanks for saying yes, man. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it.
Of course, always a pleasure. Always have a good time.
Yeah, we won't talk about this in the show, but you recently moved. What you got all this tech? How fun? How much fun is it to relocate all that tech to a new place?
It was a complete disaster, but I did it early in stages. So we had like a couple of months before. So I moved all my stuff slowly ahead of time. So by the time the movers came, it was just like desk and couch.
Yeah, that is nice if you can stage it, right? That doesn't always happen for everybody, where you can sometimes closings and keys and move out of this and move into that. And it doesn't always, I think people are getting smarter about that, of having maybe some time in between to maybe get stuff over there. Did the new place, was it wired it all the way you needed it to be? Did you have to do anything to?
No, he had the lines ready, just the cable lines were ready. So I've got gigabit in here and it's working perfectly. So Comcast is our provider. So
nice.
I guess if I needed something, they could upgrade it. But yeah, it's a relatively new building, so luckily that wasn't a big issue.
Do you wire like your PC? Do you wire that into a wired network, or do you do wireless for everything? Or is it a mix?
Wireless 5
Really?
gigahertz.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. No wires. Huh?
I mean, now to be fair, the router is maybe 3 feet to my left. So
well, but it's still has got to go to the chip. The wireless chip needs to do its job. I think this was something in the old days when we first started doing Wi-Fi. The chips were always woefully underpowered, and they were, it's cheap little boxes. You could still buy those cheap little boxes today, but
for sure.
That woefully underpowered, and you would run and guys like us would run, dozens of devices through them, and then they just quit working. And I could never figure out why they would just stop working. And the chips were just burning out. Like they would, because they had passive cooling in them, no fans, right? They never had fans.
Yeah.
And we're just smoking the chips in those things, right?
Yeah. To get around those issues, I got a 2 gigabit modem, so my own, and then I also invested in a really nice, very fast Wi-Fi 6 router, Wi-Fi 6E. So that's how I got around the wire thing. The latency is basically, it's not the same, but I haven't had any issues gaming or doing any of that stuff.
That's good.
Yeah, it's been pretty good, and it's got excellent coverage, so I can't complain.
Oh, I'm sorry, I lost you there for a second. Are you back?
Oh,
Am I back? Yeah. Sorry, that was my fault. I had two things going on, and then I thought I'd lost you for a second. So no gaming, no latency issues, none of those kinds of things going on.
No, I'm not doing like competitive gaming anymore, but I play fighting games, I play FPSs, and no issues. I have no latency issues.
Yeah. Well, I did, since you've been on, I went T-Mobile wireless for my internet, and so I have a tower that's a block or two up the street.
You went to the dark side.
I did. Yeah, I did on that too. And 400 down and 50 or 60 up for that on a wireless connections.
Consistent? No.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I live in an old part of town, and I don't think there's a lot of people using the tower. So I think I get pretty good service, and T-Mobile seems to have provisioned it right, and I was one of their first customers, and so there were a few bumps in doing it, but no, it's been fantastic. I was super skeptical. It's $50. That's the thing.
Oh wow. It's cheaper. It's a lot.
It's a lot cheaper for what I get.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
at the time I only had Cox Communications as our provider, and their wiring in this neighborhood was a conglomerate of bad old,
Yeah.
bad, redundant.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
at one point I was calling them so much they sent out one of their engineers, and he was like, "Oh, this neighborhood's not very good." He's like, we he goes, "I'm going to try to do some trickery because we can't upgrade. Obviously, we can't just upgrade the neighborhood." So
Right. The
he
whole
goes, "I'm
thing.
going to do some trickery to try and get you better," and they just never could. And so we now have FastWire, and there's one other one here and that's coming in that's laying fiber.
Okay.
I don't know. T-Mobile's been I don't want to say $50 for life, but
Right.
they were kind of like 50 forever or until we tell you it's not, kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's interesting. So
Yeah.
fiber is, I guess, how many video calls would you say you do in a day? Are you constantly on them? Because I'm
Well,
all day, 4 hours plus.
are you home? You're working from home most
Yeah.
of the time
Yeah.
now?
We're
Okay.
from home, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was, and then we started coming back hybrid.
Okay.
And then I was like, I don't do hybrid very well. I needed to just be at work or just be
Mm.
at home. So I started going in 5 days a week. So I'm
Okay.
really doing everything from work again.
Oh, nice.
So we're not using.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not using. Hey, if you're joining us live, check in the chat room. I saw Ryan out there a little bit earlier. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for checking in. Good to see you. Yeah. So I don't. It's actually worked. I was super skeptical. I thought, well, if this doesn't work, I can go back. I think I could get wired again, maybe FastWire.
Yeah.
I'll give that a try, whatever.
Yeah.
They're still not here. FastWire still hasn't. They painted our street like, okay, we're going to come and install this stuff, and they never did. So I don't know if enough people, probably enough people didn't pre-order it for them to justify laying the street. They're calling me every day trying to sell me.
Fiber is very fast.
Yeah.
Put it lightly. So I don't know that the pricing, if they could come close to that and they're going to lay the lines, might be worth considering.
No, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Well, but for what I do, the $50 works great, and 400 down.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, we haven't had a single. I shouldn't say that, but I have had very few outages. So,
Okay.
Yeah, works
That's
out.
good.
Works out pretty well. So, all right. Well, let me get this going here. Let's see. Before we do that, here, let me get this set. Ryan says he's getting 2.5 next week.
Nice.
That would be. How long do you think before residential 10 gig? Think that'll ever get there?
I don't know. I don't know if they have any incentive to do so.
Yeah.
That'd be my only thing with that. I'd love to see it, obviously.
Yeah, he was 330. What
Yeah,
do you in your gig?
I'm gig. But
gig both ways or
no, just one way.
Just one way.
So it's only 40 up, which is not super great. That's how they get you.
It's a lot better than it used to be 10 for everybody, and that was like those were horrible days. You're
like DSL speeds.
Yeah, well, we weren't doing as much video. I mean, this was probably 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. Most people weren't doing as much video.
Yeah, that's all it is now. That's all it is.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's a lot of this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
So,
but you're right about the reception. If the few times my internet's gone down, I just hotspot my iPhone 5G, and I'm getting like well over 100, like 150, and that's through a phone. So I would imagine the dedicated box and service would be pretty good.
Yeah. And they have a tool with their router where you can move the router around and then watch the app, and it will tell you like where the best signal is. And then they have a bunch of aftermarket antennas I could put on it, but it's kind of like, nah, I think it's good enough. It's just 2 doors. I mean, the tower is literally 2 doors up, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think I'm good. It's even in the basement. I ran a line up to the second or the first floor.
Okay.
To see if it'd make any difference. I put it in the window, and I thought, well, maybe I'll mount it in there with a cover.
Yeah.
I'll put it on the outside, run the wire to the outside, put a cover on it. I got it up there, and it wasn't any better. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to leave it. Just gonna leave
So
it in the
it's
basement.
pretty good. You didn't
Yeah.
did you consider Starlink at any point?
No, yeah, not with all the. Have you ever? Have you
No,
ever thought of? Yeah, no.
no. I just saw he released a like smaller, like it's just like a basically a plug-in. It's like literally like maybe this big, like as big as a tablet type
Okay,
of. So
dish or
yeah, like a
whatever
little mini
receiver.
dish. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
guessing that's for like portable use in car and stuff like that.
yeah.
But it's cool. It's interesting.
It's
Yeah,
super cool. Like
yeah,
it's from a remote standpoint. I think from a flying standpoint, I think
yeah,
it's going to change, right? How
yeah.
we do internet on airlines and some of those
Exactly.
kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
So um, I, I don't know how much junk it's introducing into space, and
A
when
lot.
all of a sudden now when you watch Gravity, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this could definitely happen, right?
Well, I was reading when he got approval to launch all these satellites, there's
Yeah.
really no regulatory body that governs this
Oh yeah.
launching of these
Yeah.
satellites. So I ran down a rabbit hole of like all this. So basically it's like you give a bid and they just kind of approve it yes or no.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, it's just odd.
Well, I think the U.S. Space Agency has a full-time team that monitors all that stuff in space, and
Yeah.
they'll say, "Hey, yeah, shift the space station a little bit or whatever," right? You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Hopefully the
So
Space Force
the
is on
Space
top of it.
Force. Yeah, there you go. Tony in chat says, "Love my symmetrical gig." That would be nice with kids
That
and
would be
wife
nice.
that
Living
works
the
from
dream.
home. Yeah, I mean that would be if you could do wired symmetrical gig,
Yeah.
you're good. I can't. I really can't imagine a scenario where you run out at that
No.
point. I mean,
Mm-mm.
that's pretty nice. And then
No.
Ryan says, just wanted to hop on and say hi. I can't hang around long, but excited to listen to this. Miss the regular content from Jay. Well, Jay's back, and I apologize for not having Jay. He's been a little busy. So he's moved, and some other things have been going on in his life, and we'll catch up with that here in a second. So, Jay, hang tight. Let me open up the show, and then we'll get things started. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 614, recorded on July 11th. This time with Jay Mattison, 2024. Now, let me do that again. That was terrible. Sorry. Hold on. I don't know where the heck I was going with that. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 614 with Jay Mattison, recorded on July 11th, 2024. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a not stormy, warm Bellevue, Nebraska. I think the weather has settled down some. We have had hail and tornadoes and all those other things. I have to have somebody come out and check my roof. But, of course, we'll post the show with some world-class show notes out at the AverageGuy.tv. Big thanks to our Patreon subscribers, you guys that do that each and every month. You can join for a month or join for more months. Many of you do. Appreciate you guys doing that. If you want to join the team, head out to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. And, of course, big thanks to Ed Sullivan, who joined me 2 weeks ago. We took the 4th of July off. That landed on a Thursday, so we took that night off. But Ed joined me. He went through his whole Mac setup. If you haven't caught that yet, including the new iPad Pro that we talked about, for his use, check it out. It's 613. You go to theaverageguy.tv/HGG614. We'll get you there as well. Jay Mattison is hanging out with me tonight. Jay, it's been a while, but I'm glad you're here. By the way, before you even came, folks were like, man, I'm so glad you're having Jay back. So welcome back.
Well, I'm glad that people weren't tired of me, even though it's been so long. So
yeah, I think it's
nice
been
to
2
see you
years.
again.
I think it's been 2 years since we had you on. You've been busy, and rightly so. As I was catching up with you in the pre-show, I was like, oh yeah, no wonder it's been 2 years. You've been kind of busy. Your YouTube channel, which had you were building a lot of micro things on that. I think you've taken kind of a break from. Catch us up a little bit, whatever you're comfortable with, but just catch us up a little bit. What's been keeping you busy? Welcome back, and what's been keeping you busy?
No, thanks for having me, and hello everyone. No, it's I think like we mentioned we were just talking a little bit. Yeah, it's just general life stuff. So like I told you, I had gotten married last summer, bought a house, so all that fun stuff. So got a cat against my will, even
What?
though my wife will be mad
Cats
that
are
I
pretty
said
great.
that.
I know. No,
Yeah,
they're pretty great.
it's
They're
not
pretty
bad.
great. They grow on you. I didn't like the first when we were getting one 20 years ago. I didn't like
Yeah,
it, and then the thing lived for 20 years, and I cried like a baby when we lost that thing, and
Yeah.
so it'll grow. It'll grow
That's
on
gonna
you.
be me. That's definitely
Yeah,
gonna be me. Yeah,
yeah,
it's they're low maintenance. It's been fine. But yeah,
yeah.
and then obviously so new office, all this stuff, and I've been trying to get back into it. So I've been slowly assembling gear.
Hmm,
That's really what I've been
okay.
doing. And waiting for the PC market to settle, so to speak, maybe waiting for the new generation of GPUs and stuff, and I'll probably hop back into that. But for now, I'm just kind of diving into audio and doing a little camera gear stuff because
Yeah.
that's what's been catching my eye lately.
Well, let's talk about we'll talk about the PC market. There's some interesting things there. We'll talk about that here towards the end of the show. So
Sure.
anyone interested in that, hang out. Well, the Copilot plus PC stuff and Mac infrastructure, some of those kinds of things. Because I think you got some good things to say there. But you are kind of, I don't want to say first, but you do have a love for audio, for camera equipment. If there's ever been a time to be a photographer, to be a videographer, to do video stuff, to do audio stuff,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's ever been a better time than, say, the last, I don't know, decade or so, with all the new gear that is coming out, with all
Yeah.
the different kinds of cameras and stuff. What have you been working on and keeping your eyes on? What kind of new stuff have you been buying?
So specifically, it's funny you mentioned that because I'd say specifically in the last 2 to 3 years,
Yeah.
like there was already a boom, but the amount of quality cameras that now exist that are focused more on video is astonishing. And there's a bunch of brands. There's obviously Sony who's leading in sales. You got Panasonic with their Lumix line. You've got the big boys, the old school Canon, Nikon. They're making a comeback. You've got like the big boys, Reds, Aries, if you're into actual cinema stuff. But it's been very exciting to see how capable and compact and small some of these new cameras are. So
Yeah.
on my end, I picked up. I shoot on Sony just because it's just easier to use. So what I'm shooting this on right now is an FX30, which is a Super 35 camera, but super capable. And then you can kind of see it in the back there. I can pull that down, but that's my like main camera, and that is a ZV1, which is a full frame camera, and but not really built for the way I'm using it. But in a studio, it's more than adequate for what I'm
Yeah.
doing. So
Yeah. So you're not on a webcam, you're actually on a camera. And
yeah,
I'd say 5 years ago that was sketchy, because
yeah,
the cameras would time out. Like you could
yep.
get maybe 30 minutes with them, right? There was a whole, has that kind of gone away? I mean, has the industry figured out, hey, we might want to use these things as webcams too,
Mhm.
or at least just pass through the video? Is that better now?
Yeah, at least on the Sony end. So
Okay.
the
Yeah.
you will find on some of their lower end models, like a 6700 or even the ZV1 I have up there, if the ones that don't have internal fans, some of them, they may
Mm.
overheat after like an hour or so.
Oh, wait a
But
minute. These cameras have internal fans?
oh yeah, yeah,
Oh my,
yeah.
really?
Yeah, my
Wow.
FX30 has an internal fan, yeah, built in.
Yeah.
So
Can't be
that's
very
why
big, right?
it's not, they're small,
Okay.
they're super
Yeah.
compact. All it is a
That's
USB-C
crazy.
cable into your computer, and you're
Yeah.
good to go. 4K
Yeah.
video right
Right.
there, no
Does
problems.
it okay, so but if you have a camera and you got a microphone on the camera now, a
Mm,
lot of folks are moving to, wireless Rode Pros and some of
mhm.
those kinds of things, right? But say I've got a microphone on one of those cameras. Do you hear those? Do you hear those fans at all? Does that cause a problem?
No, I mean, they're the fans, at least on the FX30 and FX3, those are the 2 alpha line cinema small bodies.
Okay. Okay.
Um, you don't hear the fans at all. Even if you go up on there to the FS6 or FX9, you really don't hear them. You'd probably have to go to even I'm trying to think, even high-end cinema cameras that I've dealt with, the fan and the pitch, they're tuned so that you're really not gonna pick it up, and if you do, you could easily correct it in post with, like, a simple noise reduction, so
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
really a big issue.
Yeah, what are those cameras running these days? I mean, if you to get out of the bottom end, if
Yeah.
for a kind of a photographer, where are we at these days with on pricing on these things?
That is a loaded question. What I'll say is
Yeah.
you can get an awesome camera that can do 4K, 60, 120, whatever it may be, for under 2,000 now, which
Okay.
was not really an option at quality
Yeah.
for a while ago. Now, if you want to get into full frame, usually you're talking about that 2,500-ish range and up,
Okay.
in that ballpark. And depending on what sort of features you need, you could go up to like a Red Komodo X, which is very popular, and that's 6,000 plus. stuff like that. So there's all sorts of ranges, but the entry level is so good now that it's really changed the game. Like you can get amazing quality for relatively cheap.
What kind of photography are you doing now? What do you like to do? What's your favorite stuff to shoot?
See, I'm just video. Like I shoot
okay.
some stuff for like Instagram and stuff, in terms of just pictures. But my primary focus is I've been trying to learn and sharpen that skill set.
Okay.
Color grading, shooting in RAW as best I can or log. It's a lot to learn. Like it's a whole nother skill set. It really is. And I underestimated it when I think I started on YouTube. I would literally just turn on the camera and talk and put it out. And looking back, I'm like, this looks really bad now that I know a little bit.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, you go back to some of your early YouTube videos.
It's brutal.
And you're like, oh, but you gotta crawl.
Yeah.
Before you walk. Yeah. No, I feel the same way. Mike Howard, who is a good friend of the show, passed away a couple years ago. He had a show called JPEG to RAW, and that was the whole of moving from a produced file format to just all the data. With these cameras now, 4K, they got to be giant on the video stuff that you're doing, right?
Yeah, they're quite amazing. Actually, here, I'll pull my camera down. So
okay. Yeah.
So, all right. So this is
I'm gonna
camera.
I'm gonna put you in big screen here so everybody can see.
So you can kind of see what's going on here.
Yeah.
And so,
that's nice looking.
Wait, let me see if I can get.
Okay, so you got a handle upper left to me. You got the hand. That's just a handle. But then just talk about what else is on there.
All right, so we've also got the 5.5-inch monitor there. So obviously, with a lot of these cameras,
you have a phone on your camera.
It's necessary. Not necessary, but it makes shooting a lot easier. It really does.
Yeah.
And then on back here, we've got power. So instead of going for internal power, you can see this MPF battery, which is this one is 7,600 milliamps, or I believe. So basically, I could shoot all day with that. On these cameras sit power. On the right side, we've got wireless audio. So this is a receiver, like you were mentioning earlier, that connects to a wireless mic. I also have the Rode wireless lavs, so you can do that if you need to. And it just makes it a lot easier. And then this is the just released. This is a brand new lens. This is the Sigma 28-45. So this is a 1.8. This thing is like, if you're shooting video in a studio, this is the lens, is what I'd say people should get for like YouTube specifically. And I'm definitely going to do some videos on this, but it took me a while to figure out exactly what I wanted for what I needed, but this was the final end result.
And what does that come in? How much does that set you back
I think, like, I don't know, 2 legs, 4 arms.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're sitting down, but your legs are gone.
Yeah, maybe like in the 4 range, probably.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So it's not great, but you could also, obviously, you can go different parts. It could be cheaper, like my FX30 that I'm shooting on could do pretty much most of what this does. It's just not full frame. You could build a rig with that similarly for probably under 2,500.
Okay. As I look at that, certainly, the camera, the body, the lens, none of those kinds of things have changed from the way they look, but certainly the mechanics on the inside have gotten so much better. How much of that lens is, lenses have always just been to me a series of mirrors or glass. That's it. Is it still that way, or is there? Yeah.
So the lens technology. So the lenses are way sharper than they ever were, is what you'll notice. A modern lens is going to be way sharper, and for the most part, they're going to have autofocus, unless you're talking about a manual lens built for a different type. But so that's the big difference. Everything's sharp now. Every camera manufacturer has sharp lenses, and they're fast, meaning like the aperture's fast. So like the lens here, this is a 1.8. So that's how you get that nice creamy background, the bokeh in the background. So that's the difference. Before, you'd get like an f4, and that would be pretty fast, but not great in low light. You really need to let in a lot more light. People are shooting at night, shooting in poorly lit rooms with like Philips Hue, like I have here. So it's really helpful.
It looks good
in all sorts of environments.
Looks good. Your color is warm. Your background looks great. I mean, what you're doing here looks for shooting video the way we're doing it. I think it'll come out in 720p on this one. So we're doing 1080 at work, but for this kind of media, I'm not sure I need Oh, I even need the 1080. How much do you think phones, as I think about all the, and I've just got the low end iPhone 12, but
Mhm.
like the 15's got,
Yeah.
three. How much pressure do you think having phones now that are better than cameras were 10 years ago or 8?
Yeah.
And these kind of cameras, you buy them with the kind of investment that you made on it.
Mhm.
It's not like you're replacing those things like a PC every
Right.
2 or 3 or 4 years, right? You're holding on to
100%.
it for a while. How much
Yeah.
do you think the phone technologies put pressure on those camera companies to get better?
I absolutely, I think it has because, like you said, you can shoot if you wanted to do YouTube or TikToks or whatever it is, you don't need a camera for that. You can shoot
No.
it on a phone. Like a
Yeah.
lot of popular YouTubers, like Marcus Brownlee and KBHD, he has that a second car channel if you're familiar with him, and he shoots all the car reviews on iPhones. And that's a multi-million subscriber channel making big bucks. Reviewing really high end stuff. So you can do it. There is definitely still a noticeable difference in quality. Like I have the 14 Pro Max and I've used the 15 and it gets very impressive video, but the dynamic range is it's different. There's still a quality lost for sure.
When you
So
say dynamic range, what do you mean by that?
so there is when you talk about the type of footage that typically a camera's pulling in. So
Yeah.
Sony, these cameras, they pull in 10-bit images, which
Okay.
is basically the amount of colors that you
Yeah.
can display, like just like a 10-bit panel on a monitor. So I think there's a big gap between what you see here in dynamic range.
Mhm.
That's why there's also a big gap in sensor size and low light. So like when you take a video with an iPhone, that's why people's faces look so smooth. A lot of that is because it just doesn't have the ability to handle noise well. So they do a lot of smoothing on
Mm.
that. And
Got it. Got it.
there's technical limitations to this like tiny, 0.5-inch sensor that you
I was gonna
really,
say,
it's hard to get around. It
yeah.
just really is.
How big is the sensor on your camera? Do you
So this is
think
a full
versus the
frame.
phone?
I believe this is a 1 inch because this is full frame. I
Okay.
think it's one
Okay.
inch. Don't
What
quote me on that.
still
Yeah.
still that you think like you're bringing in all that, and what's the max resolution on that again? How 8K? Is it?
This goes up to it's 12 megapixels, so it's true 4K. Yeah.
Wow, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, on a 1 inch, on a 100 years ago, if you would've if we would have told people like, "Oh yeah, you can do all of this on that," they would have thought that you were crazy on that. The phones are also limited, I mean, the memory in them because these things take, I mean, even if you are shooting at full resolution, you can fill the phone up pretty fast where
Oh,
your
yeah.
camera, the battery's in all day. I'm
Mhm.
assuming too, what kind of memory do you run on that, and how do you get that stuff out of there?
Yeah, so this has V90 SD cards in it, which are pretty fast. And this one has 256 gig, which they're not super expensive. You're talking about maybe 120, something like that,
Yeah.
which, for memory, really fast memory in camera is pretty good. So all you got to do is pop it out, or you can just connect the USB-C cable right to your computer, and it's easy peasy. They make it as easy as possible these days.
Does that, I know for a long time a lot of photographers didn't want to plug it in. They wanted to just move a card out, I guess, so maybe
Yeah,
to get another card in.
yeah.
Are we there where data transfers fast enough off of the camera where you just plug it in, it's okay too?
Yeah, so for the files I'm dealing with, which 4K up to 120, if you need it like in 1 second, you might just want to pop the SD card out and put it in the reader because it'll be
Okay.
faster. But
Yeah.
we're talking about probably 150 megabits a second downloading, so it's moving files pretty quickly. It's fast enough for me at least.
Yeah. Would you move them wirelessly if that was an option, or is that an option?
Absolutely, I would love it. I scoured the internet for a way to do it, and there just isn't a way. Not with Sony, at least,
Okay.
unfortunately.
It seems
Yeah,
like that's a miss. Like,
that is a
don't you
mess.
think we're to a point, we were talking about this a little bit in the pre-show. Do you think we're at a point where our own wireless infrastructures internally are good enough, whether it's 6E on the Wi-Fi side of
Mhm.
things or whatever, right? Don't you think? That
Yeah.
seems a little odd that they don't have a Wi-Fi chip in there.
So that's the thing. They have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, but
Okay.
it does not have a way you can connect it to a computer, either through USB, obviously, or
Yeah.
wirelessly. But in terms of transferring, there's
Yeah.
no like way to
That's
do it.
weird.
It's very bizarre.
That is
Yeah.
weird. Why do you is there a conspiracy theory? Is why like they want you to buy their memory or something?
Yeah,
Is that
I don't know, because you would still need the memory, right? You still need to store it.
yeah, yeah.
It's just a matter of, like, convenience. Just let
Mm,
me wirelessly, because that would
yeah.
eliminate a lot of issues, honestly.
Yeah,
Really.
getting that's always been, I think, a photographer's the bane of a
Yeah,
photographer's existence is like, I want to get this data backed up just as quickly as possible.
exactly.
In the old Drobo days, that would be their advertisement. Take this Drobo with you or
Mhm.
whatever, and you can be plugging it in and backing up this data before you get there. What kind of stuff do you like to shoot? Like, what's the genre of your shoots? What do you like to shoot the most?
I like taking setup shots,
Okay.
like, just room tours, stuff like that, and also, like, direct product shots. So,
Okay. Oh, okay.
headphones, PCs,
Yeah.
just I like that sort of,
Yeah.
that's what I like to shoot, and I'm starting to learn a little bit more about actually stitching those together. Probably gonna do a little bit more on social soon,
Oh,
on my
nice.
Instagram and stuff, so,
Yeah. Get back to it.
it's yeah, get back to it. I say that, and then 2 years later, we'll be talking.
You've been a little busy. You've had a few life events
Yeah.
do you think, let me ask you maybe a question that you won't have an answer for, but let's do this thought exercise for a second. Do you think there's a day? Oh, well, this what's made me think of it. Tony in chat said he likes the video on his 14 Pro Max, but photos not so much. Do you think there's a day when we only shoot videos and then AI figures out the best photo for if we wanted a still for whatever
Yeah,
reason? Do you think there's a day when we stop just doing and
that's an
you
interesting
you
question.
literally just pointed at something for a while and then you're like
Yeah.
good enough? Because like the iPhone has that live
Mhm.
style, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever you call that mode. I don't know if Android does as well. Probably do. They copy each other on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know, any thoughts on that where we just we let AI pick a good picture out for
I
us?
hadn't even thought about that. I That's interesting. I know, so on the heels of that, I know some cameras do a thing where when you start, like, pressing the button now, it'll take pre-shots. So it'll
Yeah.
take shots before and after you actually snap a picture, which is functionally like a video, kinda like what
Yeah.
you're saying. So, yeah, I definitely think as they integrate it more, we'll take the best picture for you. Just
Yeah.
point your camera at it and we'll figure it out. That's certainly, I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah,
Yeah.
that certainly could be something.
Well, not only take the best one, but maybe the best of 3 and then
Yeah,
just blend those together and say, "Hey, this one had the best of this and the best of
yeah.
that and the best of this," to
Would
make
we
it
lose something though? So, like, that would be my only question. Would we lose moments
yeah. Well, do
doing
we get
that?
the uncanny valley,
Right.
thing happening when I don't know, the AI has gotten so good with, give it 3 or 4 pictures and then say,
Mhm.
"Make a professional photo of me," and
Yeah.
it kinda
Scary.
nails it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like,
Yeah.
"That's scary."
Yeah, it's scary.
I've seen some really good ones. There's an app for capturing lightning that
Mhm.
you push the button and then it's just constantly taking pictures and deleting them. So it's got a 3 second, I think you could set it, a
Mhm.
3 to 5 second lead, right? And so it's picture, 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 and then it's deleting off the backside. Then the
Hmm.
lightning happens, and after the lightning's done, you can stop it, and it keeps this buffer of pictures that then that's because most of us
Yeah.
never you try to catch fireworks, you're
Right.
the same way, right?
Yeah.
Try to although fireworks pictures are terrible. So I don't know why they're awful.
The most
Um,
useless pictures
yeah.
ever.
We just celebrated the 4th of July here in
Yeah.
the United States. Do you go out? Do you do any photo
I
shots
don't
with
usually take photos, but we
or
go pretty
video?
much every year. Like, we try to go with the family. But yeah, I learned because everyone shames you online if you take pictures. I'm just like,
Yes, they do. I
yeah,
didn't realize till this year how bad the shame was for people
yeah,
taking.
it's pretty
There was
bad.
a meme of like, no matter how many pictures you submit, they will never be any good of fireworks or something like that. It's
Yeah,
like
they're not
that's
good.
just kind of mean, but
Yeah.
I guess
And
it's
no one wants to see, and people are right. Nobody wants to see. Everyone sees fireworks every year. Nobody
yeah.
wants to see. No
Is
one
it
cares.
different, along those lines in the tech space? We're starting to see drone
Mhm.
presentations, drone,
Yeah.
whatever you would call them. where they're doing these events, 1,000 or 1,500 or whatever it is, doing these presentations. Is that is that interesting to you at all? Is watching, and I mean, think about the coordination that has to happen
Yeah.
for some, and the videography, the photography, the shooting the video on that is amazing because they have drones then shooting the
Yeah.
video for the drones doing the lighting kind of stuff. Is that interesting to you?
Absolutely. I have yet to see one of these live drone shows, but I think it's definitely the next thing. There's already people calling for that to replace fireworks.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
thing is, like, that's incredibly expensive to have someone can
Yeah.
come do that
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But I think that's definitely the future. You don't have to scare any dogs, and you can do cooler stuff,
Yeah.
with the drones.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's very impressive. It really
It
is.
is impressive. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, wow, we have so many people who are sensitive to fireworks, plus the
Yeah.
animals, right? We
Yeah.
scare the bejesus out of these animals. They have no. They're like, what is going
Yeah.
on?
What is going?
Ed Sullivan, who was on 2 weeks ago, I think he and I looked it up. $2.3 billion are spent every year on fireworks here in the
Wow.
United States. Yeah, 2.3 billion.
$1 billion industry. Who would have
Billion.
thought for one day,
I know.
basically,
I
like
know.
maybe a week's time span?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
wow.
It's crazy. It's just insane. Jay, on the audio side of things, you mentioned, I think in the last 5 or 6 or 7 years, the wireless lapel
Mhm.
mics have gotten really good.
Yeah.
If you were to, we get on Saturday mornings, I do Ask the Podcast Coach, and we get people asking about those kinds of things all the time.
Yeah.
Didn't seem like that long ago they were just brand new. It seemed like Rode was just releasing those things. They're
Yeah.
already on a
And they
version
were
2.
really the only one at that time.
Yeah. What
You
you have
know
any recommendations if somebody was going to use something like that? What do you like?
Yeah, so the Rhodes are awesome. I had the Sennheiser kit as well. Not
Okay.
as good.
Okay.
What I'll say is there's a secondary brand, and the wireless mic I have here, if you just go on Amazon, a lot of you will see it's called Komika, and it's basically the same form factor, the same style, but it's a little more affordable, and the audio quality is really good. I do think the Rhodes typically will sound better if you're looking for like the high end, crispiest audio, but if you want to save a couple dollars, the Kamika, they have really good options. And the one I have up there is a wireless shotgun, or up there, and they have the actual lapels and stuff as
Yeah.
well. So
What are we using for you tonight? What are you using from a microphone? Because you
I'm
sound
using
good.
the
Okay.
Rode VideoMic NTG, which is a shotgun mic, which
Yeah.
can go on camera, but I'm just plugging it into
Yeah.
USB.
You just got to
Yeah,
point it right towards you. And that sounds
yeah.
that sounds really good. And then we're getting the audio playback. What are you wearing in your ears?
Just AirPods 3,
Okay.
just keeping it simple. I think last time I was causing all sorts of feedback issues through my speakers, so figured I'd spare you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I appreciate you doing that. I almost went with. I heard Paul Thurrott on Windows Weekly say he's been using the Bose Quiet Comfort
Okay.
ear
Yeah,
whatever they call them,
those are
AirPods,
good.
as his monitors, and I've always been
Oh,
anti wireless because the battery life has been
yeah,
so terrible for these
yeah,
for earbuds. Now it seems like I think those get 6. I think that's what they're
right.
advertising. Kind of 6 is that I'm AirPods. I'm
Yeah,
similar kind of
same
thing.
ballpark. I
Yeah.
think they're advertised at 6 as well. But I've had these for like a year, so you're probably getting like 4 to 5 hours,
Yeah.
if you just,
And I
which is
don't do
good.
anything more than 3 hours,
Right.
but it's always worried me. Well, one, the connection, the Bluetooth
Mhm.
connection, right, to them, and some of those kinds of things. The other thing I have with the old versions of them was I like the audio pass through. I like to hear a little bit of my own voice.
Yes.
Do those have audio pass through where you can turn that
So
on?
these don't, because these are just the bud style. If you
Okay. Yeah.
probably you
Yep.
can't see that.
Yeah.
You've seen it
Which
before.
may have some natural pass
Yeah,
through
so,
anyways, because
like,
they
I can
don't,
hear,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
people talk, but I have the AirPods Pro 3, which are honestly, like, in terms of value, if you're just looking for the best value of
Yeah.
a audio product, I honestly think those are right up there with anything. They sound really good, and the audio pass through is literally like what you're hearing in real life. It's that good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if that's something that you're looking for, and they have even better battery life than these, certainly worth a shot. Especially since you have an M1, you've got the
Yeah.
Mac, so connecting is super easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
those things.
I've resisted. I on Ask the Podcast Coach all the time. I'm like, I don't do anything podcasting wise that's
Mhm.
wireless because batteries go out.
Sure.
and they always seem to go out in the middle of the one exception's been the mouse. It's a wireless mouse. I break the rules for that, but I've just been kind of concerned. Do you think those concerns on earbuds are, I shouldn't be as worried about it anymore? Because it always seemed like they create problems connecting. I can't tell you how many times I'm doing a podcast and they're trying to do them from the earbuds and they don't connect to it and people can't find it. Maybe it's a Windows thing.
It's definitely Windows and Bluetooth devices has always been a bit of a issue. Now Windows 11 is a little bit better. It's better with a lot of those little features that Apple nails. But honestly, I find that with the Apple earbuds, it's not an issue. I find that with Windows stuff, it really is still connection issue, which is funny to say as being a Windows guy. But
well, the other thing I don't like about the earpods, or what is that what they call them? No,
AirPods.
AirPods is the hook on the end,
the little dangly, the earring part.
And I know, and they're white. I kind of wish, I kind of like the Bose because they're black.
Sleek,
and and they kind of fit in there, and they have a little knob instead of a long tube. And it's not long. Listen to me. It's like this, it's like a quarter of an inch long or whatever. It's super long, right?
So I will say though, because I don't like the way it looks either. I'm on the same page. Please make them a darker color. Get rid of this. But in terms of usability, just like hitting that little stalk and tapping it, very nice. Like it is functional. So I'll give them a little credit there.
Well, I might have to look at those, and I may look at the Bose, and I may make, and then I would, one of the things is I can't carry things with me. I've learned this for a long time. Like for travel, it's fine. But like if I'm going to do it for work, I'd have to have a set here and a set in the office. Like I can't go in between because I will just forget them here. Right. It just doesn't work for me that way. So if I'm going to buy one set, I should probably buy two. I finally, for the work podcasts, I have to do translations. We do 7 different languages. And so I have a translation engine going on my phone, and I was taking cables. It takes a sound card and another cable to make all that work. And I was taking cables back and forth, and then the cables were never in the right spot. I was like, I left that at home. And it's literally $7 worth of cables or whatever, right? And I was like, I should just buy enough.
Just
cables.
get another,
AirPods. Have you used the Bose product?
So I've used the Bose Quiet Comforts, the over ears, and then I have the Sennheiser Momentum 4s. That's what I was using for travel before I got the AirPods. Now I just use the AirPods, but those are really good too. The Sennheisers, I like them, but they all sound fine. Is what I'll say. Like if you want to get, they don't sound like something like these. If you want real headphones, you got to go into the audiophile space. But
what are you showing there? What are those?
So these are the HiFiMan ARIA Organic, and these have taken over my audio life at this point. So
they sound really good, huh?
Yeah. These are really, really good.
What are those? What's retail on those things?
$1,200, I think.
Oof, wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, they better sound. They should give you give you a head massage while you're listening to them.
They are impressive. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. What from do they have? Is the frequency range better? Is it the microphones in them, or I mean the speakers in them better? What makes them so great?
Yeah. So what I'd say is, when you step up into, I guess at this point, this wouldn't even be considered really high end. High end stuff is probably like 2,000, 3,000. This is more honestly a mid range hi-fi, I guess.
Yeah.
What you're getting, or at least what I was looking for, was clarity, image separation, and detail. Like these are incredibly detailed and clean. Everything sounds as it's intended. They extend super, super high. The thing that you're often not going to get is like incredibly deep bass. That's not really how a lot of these are tuned for, but the bass is strong. Like it's good. So everything on here sounds beautiful, is best I can say it.
Yeah. I got a Bose outdoor speaker, one of those. I should remember the name of it, but it's it's just Bluetooth. You take it out; it's got a battery in it. The bass in those things are amazing.
Yeah,
it's like wow. this
Yeah.
is pretty good for an
Yeah.
outdoor, for a single outdoor speaker, you
Yeah.
know.
They're trying to entertain. They want you to have a party,
Well,
having
yeah.
some drinks on the deck at the
Uh-huh.
pool,
It's
that sort of thing.
exactly. Yeah, you tie the lights into
Yeah.
them, and no, they sound good, and I connect them to the TV, and for football, or we watched I watched some Tour de France
Nice.
coverage out on the deck with them, and the sound is
Nice.
good. It
Yeah.
reaches through, right? It's just kind of nice. So that's another. Do you do much outdoor audio where
Mm,
you're broadcasting it outside as opposed to trying to collect it?
no, I don't really do much outside. I mean, we've got a little deck here, but we spend most of our time inside. So I have like an old JBL Bluetooth speaker that sounds
Mm,
decent, like you're saying, like just
yeah,
solid.
yeah,
But I don't use it much,
yeah,
honestly, to be
yeah.
honest, unless I'm at my
The
parents' house or something.
the Bose was an anniversary gift at work, and I probably would
Nice.
have never have bought that myself, but it was one of those options, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
"Holy crap, this thing is great.
Yeah, it
This
works.
thing sounds good."
Their speakers are great. Like they make
Yeah,
really good stuff. Yeah,
yeah,
they
yeah.
really
I
do.
have the Quiet Comfort 35s
Okay.
too that I use when I travel, and I love those things.
Yeah.
I bought them the year before they built in Alexa or Amazon
Mhm.
integrations into them and the Google stuff. And I was like, then I'm like, no, I don't really use them. I've kind of quit traveling. I bought them right before COVID. And then, of course, we didn't travel for a while. And then my job changed and I'm not
Right.
traveling. So I just don't wear them as much
Yeah.
as I used to. They'd probably make good in ear monitors to do podcasting stuff with if I connected them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't like
Do you
I don't like cans.
No, I don't like them for, like, calls and stuff.
Yeah.
I only like them if I'm, like, actually sitting down. I'm watching a movie or I'm, like, listening to an album or something,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But otherwise, I like the freedom, I like to be.
Uh-huh.
Do you
Uh-huh.
use some of the smart features a lot? Are you a big smart home, smart feature guy?
I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I mean, we've got garage door opener, all the lights. I just set up my shed. It's got an air conditioner in it. So I can,
Mhm.
it's the smoke shack. So it's where I go out and do
Nice.
cigars. So now I can tell the A lady to turn on the shed power and it'll come on and the air will automatically come on.
Oh,
And
that's
then I can
awesome.
have it running an hour or whatever before I go out there.
Yeah. That's pretty
That
cool.
kind of, yeah. 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 It's handy.
I've been resisting. I think we probably talked about this in the past,
Why?
but
Why?
I
What's,
just
what's
don't
your, what's your
I
hesitancy?
don't trust smart devices. I don't
Well,
that's
of
all
course
it is.
you shouldn't
Yeah.
trust them. I'm sure they're reporting back.
Yeah. The
You
only
know? Yeah.
smart thing I have in this house is my Hue lights, and they have no, like, microphones or anything. That's really it. That's the
Mm.
only thing. I'm resisting, but I can only hold out but so long, you know?
I don't know. I think you can hold out for a while. But once you do one, then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is great. Like
Yeah.
once you forget to close your garage door, I don't know if you have a garage in the new
Yeah.
place, but once you forget to close the garage door and you've driven, half an hour away, and you can just
Yeah.
tap it and it closes it. Or you can log into your, I have a ring cam in the
Mhm.
garage because I couldn't remember.
Right.
Did I shut that thing? And then you just pull over, look at the cam. Oh, it's wide open. Hit the Neros app and shut the door. And you're like,
See, we
okay,
have a ring. I was
okay,
forced to buy one, and it's just sitting in
yeah,
the box downstairs. I just haven't set
yeah,
it up yet.
yeah.
I'm resisting. I gotta get
Well,
over my fears though.
just be
It's time.
comfortable with it.
Yeah.
You want to be comfortable with it, but I don't know, put it someplace ambiguous that doesn't matter
Yeah.
to get kind of used to it. But we have the front door, the garage, the top of the garage that shoots down on the driveway.
Okay.
The funny thing is the neighbors all see that. And so they'll make comments about it like, "Oh yeah, Jim's recording everything we're doing anyways." But it changes the security the
Oh yeah,
security stance of the neighborhood a little bit. I
for
don't live in
sure.
a great neighborhood, but
Mhm.
and then I have one in the
You never know.
backyard and I never thought I would use I use the backyard one to see like how's the weather and
Yeah,
I'll just,
there you go.
yeah. So
That
you
works out.
can just try it. But
Okay.
it's okay if you don't embrace it. Joe is asking in chat. He says curious if you're running a headphone amp and a dedicated
Yes.
DAC.
Yes. So that was another adventure. So what I'm running right now is the Matrix Audio Mini iPro 4, which I know that's a mouthful, but It's a streamer, so it has like a built-in, you can do Tidal and Spotify Connect, all that stuff. It's got a DAC and an amp, and also has HDMI ARC, so you can connect it to your TV. And I've got like a 10-foot balanced cable running from that to my PC, so I can do all this, use it on PC over on my TV. And yeah, it's a really, really good amp that I love. I love this thing. So I'm probably gonna have to make videos and all this stuff, you know, eventually. But yeah, if you're in the market, that is a fantastic little DAC amp.
Nice. By the way, don't worry about the mouthful. I use Otter AI, and I ask it. It has an AI component. I say, "What products did we talk about during the show?" And it just spits them all out for me. And then all I have to do is look them up and put links in. Thank you, AI. I appreciate that.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a whole other rabbit hole, I'd say.
Yeah,
we could do a whole show on headphones and DAC amps. Like literally, there's endless options.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff out there. Joe says he doesn't trust those that are cloud, the cameras and this is the watershed of home automation. Does it report back somewhere?
Yes.
Or exactly. Is it local? You know, does it provide local control only?
Yeah. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
So do you have a smart thermostat and like
Nest or something? Okay. I have not, because my thermostat only has got the 3-wire, and I'd have to run a 4th. And it's funny. I had a new air conditioner put in this last fall. I had a new air conditioner put in, and I used an old school guy, and I was like, "Hey, do you put in would you put in a smart thermostat for me if I asked you?" And he goes, "No." I was like, "What?" He's like, "I hate those things." Like,
because he would have to run like the wiring. Don't they have to connect? Because if
new
you
wiring,
it's like a whole thing, right?
4 or 3 or something along this. And I kind of started thinking about it, and I was like, "Yeah, that's another rabbit hole. I don't know if I want to go down. Not just for me, but for my wife."
Yeah,
it was kind of. But we have smart lighting, like I mentioned, the garage door. I've got Alexa. I have Amazon endpoints here in the kitchen, in the garage, and the shed. The shed has its own, so I can invoke things from inside the shed. The shed's off, so it's not like people can go in there and just start shouting things. Right? The shed's always, the power's off unless I'm in there. But when I'm in there, the power's on, and I have an endpoint in there. And then we use a lot of lighting. We use it for a lot of lighting.
Okay. Yeah, that's, I think, the best function for it for me personally. But we have the Nest. It was here when we got here, but I have not connected it to Wi-Fi, so it's just like a dumb thermostat right now. But I'm gonna have to rip the Band-Aid off and just do it all.
You do. Listen, you do you. You go with what you want. I wanted to, because there's just so many cool things you can do with a thermostat, but I was just afraid of the rabbit hole. It'd send me down. I didn't want to do the wiring. I was like, I think
a lot.
We have a programmable one, and that works out. That one works out just fine. And Joe says, I must have gotten the Wi-Fi out there. So I was struggling to get the Wi-Fi out to the shed. It's on the back of the property. And what I found out is the problem with the Wi-Fi was old equipment that when I replaced the equipment, like I replaced the laptop that I use out there, all of a sudden it connects just fine.
Perfect.
You know, it's like
those new Wi-Fi 6 antennas.
The new equipment. Funny how that newer equipment it's a shed, so I was just taking the crappiest equipment that I had out there. Well, of course it wouldn't connect. You know, while you're out there. Well, the other thing, with smart lighting, you got to think about and I think the other thing to think about is shade control, because if you're thinking about environmental circumstances, shades can make a big difference in keeping the heat out. I mean, that can be as important as insulation in your house.
100%. Yeah, right? Our condo has very super high ceilings, a loft style, so half of the house is basically just two double stacked windows, giant windows. So like to the point where you'd have to like get a ladder to go pull the thing down. So I think I'm gonna have to look into getting motorized, and then like you said, getting smart curtains. I think is smart.
Yeah, if you're going to motorize them, you might as well go ahead and get them, smart enabled, so you
Yeah.
can connect them into those things. And then once you go down the path, though, it's hard. It's hard to come back. I'm using Home Assistant, and Home Assistant has a plug-in for my car, for the car app that I have, my Subaru app. And so I
Okay.
can bring the Subaru stats into my Home Assistant dashboard, and it will tell me, how are the tires doing, what kind of
Yeah.
gas mileage I'm getting. But the more important one
Wow.
is, did I lock the thing?
There you go.
And so I can just look at the home automation
See,
piece and
that's
go,
actually, I like that. That's useful. That's
yeah,
actually helping me, you know?
yeah,
You're
yeah.
selling me.
It's
I'm sold. If all my data gets
okay.
stolen, I'm gonna blame you.
You're gonna send me the bill
Yeah.
if that happens. Yeah, ease in a little bit to it. The problem on lighting, right, is that there's 1,000 different companies doing lighting.
Yeah.
And so if you go to this, you go to your hardware store, fill in the blank, whatever that is, Lowe's or Home Depot, Menards, whatever. And you could literally buy lights and have a different app for
Yeah.
every single light. Now they'll all integrate in with whatever, Google or Amazon
Right.
or whatever. But you kind of like, I've tried to standardize on the TP-Link plugs, which use a
Okay.
Casa app.
Hmm.
And just because, so I get the same, like they're kind of all in the same place, sort of.
What
So
do
think
you?
that out. Think that
Okay.
out.
So the problem is my office has hue lighting, right?
Oh,
And it's but
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just in my office, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, but hue lighting is wildly expensive and
It's
overpriced.
the Apple. It's
Yeah.
the Apple of lighting. Yes.
Oh, obnoxiously overpriced. So like,
Yes. Yes, it is.
I
It
just can't
is.
see myself doing the whole house in hue.
Yeah.
But
Right.
then, do you remember? Wasn't there a universal standard? Isn't there? Do you remember what that's called?
Yeah.
It's
So Gavin
D
Campbell,
something.
who comes on from time to time, they're trying to move to this idea of matter, where
Yes, matter. There you go. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's more and more coming out that are matter enabled, and they're all supposed to work together. But the rollout has not been as fast as I think everybody was hoping.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, but if you look for matter enabled,
Yeah.
then yeah, they're independent of the app and some of the new stuff. I've been working on getting Gavin back. We'll have him on here maybe in a month or so, but
I'll have to check
see
that
how
one
that
out.
is going. Seeing how
Yeah.
that is going. But I have found, do you use an Amazon device or a Google device in your home at all?
No, nothing
Okay.
with a speaker or a camera. That's
Okay.
my
Okay.
tinfoil uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
standard there.
Speaker. Okay. Well, that's all of them then. Yeah. Well, they make pretty good hubs.
Okay.
So lots of these companies have made those, accessible through one or the other.
Yeah.
And so that could be a hub. But if you're anti-speaker or anti-camera,
I'm just being stubborn at this point. It's
no, no,
not
no.
really that serious.
Listen, dude,
It's
you're
time to
perfectly
embrace the future.
no, listen, they are spying on us, but so is your phone.
100%. Yeah.
Like,
So it's not like
so
I'm
is your
not like,
phone.
it's not like I'm
Yeah.
using a beeper. I've got an
No.
iPhone and
Yeah.
12
And you can
computers.
block the camera. You
Yeah.
can turn off the speaker. You can
Pop a
mute the
little tape
thing,
on there or something. Yeah.
kind of thing. So, let me ask you about, on your Everything Tech is your YouTube channel, and
Mhm.
you'd spent a lot of time before life distracted you. You had spent a lot of time in the micro PC, like small and efficient is your game. That's what you
Yeah.
really. In fact, a lot of the listeners here on Home Gadget Geeks really like we did a desk overview
Mhm.
for you. They really like that about you, that you just get it efficient and small, try and get the most in. um we've talked about the Apple infrastructure from a chip perspective with the M
Yep.
series getting smaller, and that really has made their devices smaller. Windows has been trying to catch up in the Copilot plus PC launch last week or 2 weeks ago, is really an architecture, an ARM architecture that's very, very similar to that. You keeping
Yeah.
track of that? Do you think in the small infrastructure space, is this going to change the game a little bit for you if you're not having to put in giant Intel chips with huge fans?
Yeah.
And what about integrated graphics? Because that's
Yeah.
everybody's talking about integrated graphics right now.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely something I'm monitoring. I've been looking and reading a lot of the reviews for these new ARM laptops that are dropping. So a couple manufacturers, Lenovo, etc., have already come out with some models, and the initial reviews and benchmarks are really, really encouraging. So like the multi-core scores are competing with M1, M2 in a lot of respects, maybe not max, but on baseline. And I think the biggest change is obviously, like you mentioned, heat management and also battery life. Like that's been the bane of any Windows laptop that's used for existence. Horrible battery life. Even on slim, light laptops, you get terrible battery life. So the fact that we can now actually have something that can run all your desktop applications, handle everything you need to do, 4K, 8K video, whatever, all the stuff. And then also you can get 12 plus hours of battery life. That's really what's exciting for me. So I think the laptop market is going to be the impacted first for sure. But similar to how Apple did it, release the laptops, and then we'll come back with the mini desktops. For me, that's a dream right there. Having something compact that I can sit on my desk, does not require massive fans. So my mini ITX PC right now has a 280 millimeter radiator for the CPU and a triple slot graphics card, because they're all triple slot now, basically. So it's like, it's not small, like they've pushed me out of being able to even build something small. So I'd love to get back to that. Efficiency is really the name of the game here. And this is a massive jump in efficiency for Windows. So I'm very, very excited to see where this is going to go.
You mentioned earlier you haven't been gaming as much, but all these infrastructures, even on the Mac side, on the Apple side, have kind of damaged gaming in some ways. We're building, I just built this monster rig that's got, a big video card in it and a giant processor to do some of those kinds of things. Do you see, if this works, do you see the gaming industry getting better about making games for ARM as opposed to always dependent on an NVIDIA or AMD? What are your thoughts there?
So there's two parts to that. I think on the surface level, I'd say yes. I think the problem is that the amount of money and technology that's been invested in the gaming consoles. So especially with Microsoft owning a lot of the studios now, like they're just PlayStation, Microsoft, they just buy them up. Their Xbox and PlayStation division are very popular, and they're going to try and do whatever they can to keep that going. So I think there will be resistance there from the AAA studios, and they're going to have to keep developing for those platforms. I think what would have to happen would be you'd have to have equal power in a massively reduced payload, basically. So, say you could have equal power on an ARM processor and chip that instead of 300 watts of being pulled, you're talking about 100 watts or something like that. If we could get to that level of efficiency where you can't argue with it anymore, I think that's what it would take to shake up the industry.
Joe makes a good point out in chat. He says, one of the things when we think about these new devices coming out, the current old version, the old chipsets plus Windows, for whatever reason, has not handled sleep or standby very well. I remember years ago at work, I just closed my laptop and then I would, walk around with it like a book. And then I get to the next thing, I'd open it up and it would come back on. And I noticed a few years ago that got super weird. Like sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. He says, when I get my laptop out of the bag and it's always dead because it hot bagged in there, like it was still running and some. I do hope when we think about, are you at work? Are you full-time laptop at work?
So you can see my laptop behind me. I use it when I'm like at the office or if I'm in the field or, but I honestly, I'm usually on a desktop most of the time, but there are like long stretches where I do use a laptop.
Yeah. What's ironic for me, the podcasting stuff I do is probably the easiest stuff to do on a laptop. And I have desktops for all of those. And then for everything else I do use a laptop. So it's little
the sleep issue is well documented. They know about it and they just don't care enough to fix it. That's really what it is. What it is, it's all the telemetry data and all the processes they have running in the background that they just don't want to turn off. Windows 11 is a little bit better. And one thing that people noticed was simply the act of, if you were working on a laptop that's plugged in and you close it, for some manufacturers, like specifically Dell and Lenovo, they found that that makes the power state different so that it still runs some processes in the background. Just simply unplugging the laptop, putting it into balance mode before you close it can result in much better battery life, or that reduction of that, like your fans are blowing crazy at 2 a.m. because your laptop is like running, which has happened to me.
Yeah. No, me too. I shut it down. I don't I don't even do that anymore. In fact, I walk around, so I look like a goober. I walk around work with my laptop in my hand and the screen open, just going from place to place. Now, the COVID kind of stopped for us all the meetings, or maybe my job changed and I don't have as many meetings. I used to always be moving around from meeting to meeting, and I just don't have as many meetings. So maybe I don't need to. And I used to work from the atrium all the time too. I'd come in, grab breakfast at work. We have a really great cafeteria. So I'd grab breakfast, sit down out in the atrium. I'd work for a while. Now I need big screens. I've got some stuff going on. I need some big screens. But I did notice, I don't I close the laptop and then I open up. It's in weird states. And so I just leave the thing. I unplug it and I just leave the thing open and carry it around like it's a child.
You sound like the perfect candidate for one of these new ARM PCs.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. Yeah. In fact, I just got a new PC. I got one issued right before COVID. I got one as soon as we were, a year ago when we were coming out of COVID. So I'm on a 3 or 4 year cycle. I think by the time I turn mine in will be for my kind of role, which is basically just email and a few spreadsheets and some of those kinds of things, will be using ARM. I definitely think. Do you think this version we know on the Mac side it's working. It's been working. The M versions are doing just fine. Do you think this is going to work for PC?
Yeah. So, there's always going to be mixed reviews up front. And the big issue is compatibility. So the way that Apple got around with it, obviously they had the emulation and they figured out a way to make it work seamlessly. And Microsoft's done a similar thing there. It's just not perfect. So I think what you'll have here, if you do basic stuff like you're saying, hey, I got to do work, Word docs, and going on YouTube or whatever, I think you'll be totally fine. Power users, probably we're just going to take us a little bit longer, to get full compatibility and get out all the kinks. But so far, it really does look good. I'm thinking about picking one up. Have you seen the new Asus ZenBook Duo laptop? It's a dual screen clamshell laptop, 14 inches. I think it's crazy. So if they come out with an ARM version of that, I will be cash in hand, ready to go.
Do you think it's wise to wait maybe a year on some of these to just let the market kind of work its way?
Yeah,
the pricing has been pretty good, right? I mean, when we think about the price for some of these, they've actually been pretty good, right?
Yeah, the pricing should be lower than what you'd be paying for Intel or AMD systems, even though AMD systems were priced pretty reasonably, but it should always be lower, even moving forward. So yeah, my laptop is still pretty strong, so I'm probably going to wait until like the perfect machine comes out. But yeah, unless you need something today, I'd probably wait. And the new Intel Ultra chips aren't bad, on the PC side. They're pretty good.
Do you think you'd ever be in a situation where for the average stuff that you do, email, whatever, you do that locally. And then if you needed more power, you could remote in or do an app in to more power and get those kind of things done. Do you think that's an infrastructure that'll ever work?
I think so. I mean, the real issue is really just latency, right?
Yeah.
Because you can remote now. It's the latency. So yeah, I definitely think that could be an option for sure.
Yeah. I always thought that'd be super efficient, like 99% of the time I don't need any power, but maybe I needed to do a video edit. I do need some power. I could fire up an app that would go to somewhere to get power and it would get my local resolution right. This is always the problem. Ed and I were talking about this 2 weeks ago. This is always the problem with remote desktop is on Windows. The Windows resolution doesn't always work right. You're like,
it's not great.
I'm on this kind of device. Just adapt. Like, don't run it but it does weird kinds of things.
Well, funny, but it's funny. So I don't mean to cut you off, but
no,
I'm
go,
just
go.
Speaking
You're
of
fine.
this.
Yeah.
So this is my Galaxy Tab Ultra, which is one of my favorite devices, honestly. and you can do, like, obviously there's a Dex mode, which is like a desktop mode, but there's also just general Windows sharing. You can share your screen. And I can use my desktop walking around the house through 5G as if I'm on the tablet, as if it's the full desktop experience. So that's kind of what you're saying, just out in the field, basically.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll edit videos on this downstairs, and I'm editing on my actual desktop computer, which is, you know, it's fun.
But is it remote? It's remote desktop.
Yeah, well, it's not remote. It's really just using Wi-Fi, local Wi-Fi.
Okay.
On the 5G. So
there's
no latency really. It's pretty accurate.
Seems like it'd be more efficient that way.
Yeah.
You know,
so we'll get there.
The endpoints being, we always go back and forth in the current version as we think about AI. You know, this Copilot Plus PC is rolling out with LLMs that are full, right? So all of a sudden we're seeing images balloon up from 2 or 3 or 4 gig to maybe 7, 8, 9 gig, doubling, right? And now the 4 gig flash drive that you use to install Windows, that's not, now that's, and that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Just get a 16 gig or 32. They're cheap.
Right.
But that's blowing out. I think we're going to see even more of those space requirements, right? But we push. There's this desire to push some of that processing. That's why these neural processors are now on the end. They're in the endpoint, right? And then we do that for a while, and then we think no, because all of AI has been done on big servers, and they're like, hey, this stuff's expensive. We should get the users to run this stuff, right?
Apple's the same way. So they're launching those new, if you saw their most recent event, all the stuff that's happening on the phone in terms of their image generation is going to be done locally in phone, which is interesting. So that's smart on their end. You know, it should be faster in theory, and then also saves them a ton of data center process power. So you know, so
it'll be interesting to see how often we're swapping those LLMs. Like, you know, they'll be like, oh, here's a new one. Here's a new, and they're big. I mean, they're large language models for a reason. They're large. Now they're not. I mean, that still, but so it seems like we're always going back and forth, right? We push it to the end, we bring it back to the you know, the mainframe, so to speak, to use the old terminology. Endpoint server, and I think we're definitely in an endpoint market right now where we're trying to, like, everybody's like, this stuff's expensive.
It's not sustainable. I don't think, you know, unless you're the only player and you're somehow figuring out a way to monetize that to like, it's so expensive for them. You know, I don't know how they could even sustain.
Although they got a ton of money. I mean, it's all the money we've been giving them. They're giving it back to us now with these free AI queries, right? Right. You know, so
that's fair.
Jay, last question for you. Since we're talking about AI, what's the best of AI for you? I mean, what are you seeing out there right now that for you is the best? Are you using any of it? Is any of it working for you?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm using quite a bit. I'm heavy into, obviously, ChatGPT with 4.0 now. Heavily integrated in our work, not in terms of doing work, but supplementing tasks, obviously, that used to take forever. There's a lot of that. I build a lot of my Google Sheets templates in that, pairing app scripts with Sheets integrations for ChatGPT. Like, I'm heavy in it, and it's been extremely helpful. So I'm bullish on its functionality. It's just a question of, like, can we keep it in a place where it's helpful and not harmful? That's always been my concern with a lot of this AI stuff. But I think ChatGPT is awesome. DALL-E, the image generations, I think that's a little more, I'm more concerned about that stuff because technically they are just literally like ripping. You know, it's like, that's just what it is. They're just kind of stealing images from people, and that is a problem. And then there's some scary stuff. I have a good friend who's in the voiceover industry, and can you imagine what that's going to look like in 5 years? Like, it's probably going to be gone. So there's some good things. Like, obviously, it's helping me at work a lot. Like I said, I'm heavy into ChatGPT. But then there's the dark side of it, or the scary side of it. you know,
Yeah.
people are going to get this.
Always though, right? That's always any new technology, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, yeah. The data summarization ability that this GPT has to summarize stuff for you is incredible. Listen, I don't buy into all the hype. Everybody's, worried about certain things. I'm kind of like, well, it's not that smart. Let's just be really clear. It's smart, but it's not that smart.
Not that smart.
But its ability to interact with us is horrible. Like that's when you talk about things being scary, using it as a chat bot is absolutely irresponsible. It can form sentences that make sense, but it's not. I mean, guys, these are language models. They're not. It's still not thinking. I think people think like, oh, it's thinking. No, it's
people
not
absolutely
thinking.
Think that. It's not anywhere close to
not
that.
thinking. It's just picking the next best word. Let's just be really clear about that, right? It's just really good at it. But the summarization capabilities of it, and especially when we think about it in the podcasting space, and where you say, I'll give it a whole transcript and then say, summarize for me, or tell me the products we mentioned, or pull out 3 quotes for me, or those kinds of summarization where I'm not really asking it to think. I'm asking it to summarize, right?
Yeah.
Or what you and I talked about earlier, where you say in the future, because video is just data, and say, here's a video file. I want 3 pictures of Jim.
Right.
Give me the 3 best ones you can create. That seems responsible, right?
I agree. Yeah, as an assistant, I think that's how we should use it. Like, I'll give you an example. So this was earlier this week. A big thing, one of the things we do at work a lot, if we're doing like a site migration or something, we'll have, in some instances for like e-commerce sites, we might have 10,000 URLs that we need to make a redirect list for. Yeah. And in the past, that was either a very manual process, or I had to find a way to write a script to do so. It could take somebody, not me, an intern, hours and hours to do some tasks like that. With ChatGPT, I was able to just make a simple spreadsheet with 2 columns and ask it to find similar URL pairings, and it did it in 30 seconds. Stuff like that. Like that is amazing. That's real good stuff there. So I mean, there's a lot of good functionality there. I hope people educate themselves, like you were just saying, on what it actually is, because they would be better. It would be a better tool for them to use if they understand what large language models actually are. Doing the research and diving in, etc. I am concerned about like what's going to happen when regulation hits this, because right now it's still kind of the wild, wild west, and the right or wrong regulation could really like torpedo a lot of this stuff.
It could make it really, really bad. And
like
not like evil bad, but just like ineffective. Like
ineffective, exactly. Just
Yeah.
completely useless.
Well, and I was having a conversation today at work with one of my coworkers, and he said something to me that reminds me in this conversation. The real power of it going forward is it knows actually more about me in the midst of it trying to make decisions. That's what it doesn't have today. I ask it a question. I mean, we can feed it a little bit of stuff. I am this person. I do these kinds of things. ChatGPT has the ability to build a profile, so to speak. But imagine if it knew more things about you from a work standpoint, or like, I mean, I think if I could feed it a lot of the stuff that I've said in my podcasts, and it could understand some of those things, right? Just think about how powerful that could be when I control it, of course. Right, when I control those things. And it really it takes that summarization process and gets the best of me, so to speak. Right in there, and then I can turn that in when I'm asking questions or whatever. It's factoring all those things in, and not just giving me a weird generic internet answer, which actually those weird generic internet answers are pretty good sometimes.
Yeah, they can be super helpful.
You're like, God, that's actually, I asked it, I was doing some work the other day, and I asked it this weird question, and it built this whole thing it would not stop. And it just built this whole thing for me. And I went back and looked at it, and I was like, I think the query was something along these lines. Tell me some things that I can give you, ChatGPT, to make you more effective when I ask you questions. And so it listed some generic stuff, you know,
Right.
oh, I could use this and this and that. And then I forget what question I asked it. And then it got super specific. And it was like, you know, and I was like, wow, this is kind of interesting, you know.
Yeah.
And I saved the query, so I have to go back and look at it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I've got a whole library of prompts and queries that I'm just
yeah,
testing. You know, I'm sure you've got the same,
yeah,
just playing with and fine
yeah.
tuning and all that good
Well, in your video space, Jay, I think as we think about videos, you know, you may be in a space with your layout stuff where you get it 50% of the way there, shoot some stuff, give
stuff.
it all those raw files and say, make a video that takes this product, pans it from left to right. I
Yeah,
want this kind of lighting at this temperature.
that would be interesting. I'd
Right?
be super on board for that.
Yeah.
Eliminating 12 hours of editing, I think
Yeah.
it would be
Yeah. I mean,
fantastic.
doesn't
Yeah,
it's just data at that point, and
yeah,
it's already, you know, we've got to work out some of the uncanny valley weird six fingers and, you know, right, some of those
yeah.
weird things it's doing. I've always said it doesn't check itself. This is the
No,
problem.
yeah,
You almost need it needs to run once, and then a QA bot needs to look at this has been the problem with translations. Like, it
yeah,
translates, then let's run that translation through ChatGPT to say, okay, is that sentence correct?
right. Does that make sense?
We
Yeah,
just don't run it twice,
right.
you know.
Yeah,
And I
that's a good point. That's a fair point.
yeah.
Is that what you're using it a lot for translations
I
when you
do.
okay,
Yeah, I do. We use it first for transcriptions, and then
mhm,
I've been using it a lot more for translations.
that's smart. That's really smart.
Yeah, it's still got a ways to go, but I think we're getting the translation bit. I think before I go is going to be I think we're going to be able to have a real time in ear
Yeah,
conversation between two people. It's the universal translator from Star
mhm,
Trek.
right.
I think maybe in the next 10 or 15 years we'll.
My favorite, sci-fi universe, so by the way, Star Trek.
Yeah. Oh
Just for the
yeah.
people out there, it's the
Yeah.
best.
Well, that if I could, people have asked me, you know, if I could have any superpower, what would you have? Speed or strength or flying. And no, I want to speak every language. Like, that
There you
would be the ability to communicate with anybody in real time,
go. Yeah,
anywhere. That'd be powerful.
that would be
So,
does that
I
include speaking to animals and other
oh,
sp
geez, that's a good question, Jay. Oh, that would be
That would
creepy.
yeah,
Could
that
you
would be
could you
creepy.
imagine if we could do that?
Talk to your dog and
Maybe,
talk
yeah.
to
No, I don't want
snakes
to
and stuff.
listen. I don't want to know what my cat thinks about me. Okay, not interested. All right, I said last question, but I got one more for you before we
Sure.
go. Any products that you're looking at ahead, gadget wise, camera wise, whatever, that you're looking
Um,
forward to here coming out? I mean, we've talked about a few, but anything you're keeping your eyes on?
yes, there is a new monitor that I would
Oh,
like to get my hands
oh,
on.
now
Yeah.
you're talking my language.
Dell recently, and maybe this is maybe a month or two ago,
Okay.
it came out with a 40-inch ultra wide that is 120 hertz
Oh,
and 5K, but
wow.
it also is IPS Black technology. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so basically better contrast,
Yeah, blacks are
120
black.
hertz, blacks
Yeah,
are blacker, yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so it's basically everything one could possibly want outside of being OLED if you're into that,
Right.
in one monitor. It's like what I've personally been waiting for. So
Nice.
it also has a feature where you can do like split the screen, like so it's two actual different monitors. You
Yep.
can treat it like dual screens, which some others do, but it's built in.
That would be great.
Yeah,
That would be
KVM
great.
switch. So
Yep.
if you have dual, like it's got literally everything. So that's probably what I'm looking forward to, and I think it's called the 40W something. I can't
Wait a
remember.
minute. Are you saying it'll support two different machines on this
Yeah,
and split it that way?
yeah,
So I
you
could
can have
have
do two
HDMI
different
coming in.
HDMIs in.
Oh
Yep,
man, that
yeah,
would be great.
and you can do different aspect ratios too. So you can do
Oh,
50/50, you can do 16:9. Yeah, it's I was blown away. I was
wow.
like, this is they thought of everything. This is incredible.
What's
Yeah,
the retail on it?
that's
You know?
it's 1900, so
Oh,
it's
that's not too
expensive.
bad. It'll
It's
come down.
more than I thought it would be,
Yeah, it'll
but
come
yeah.
down. If it catches on, it'll come down.
Yeah, so that's the only reason I didn't buy because I was like, that's not a
Yeah.
little bit," You know, I got to make sure
Yeah.
I really want it. So
Yeah. Well, Tony knows me enough. He says Jim has enough. I have 11 monitors on my desk. So you're talking to the guy who loves monitors.
Yeah, that can be the next one. And then also like it's I'm trying to think what else. I'd love for them to come out Sony with the next FX line of cameras. So if they come out with an FX3 Mark II, I would be super interested in that. Something that had like built-in ND filters and just new better features.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I think the monitor and I'm also waiting for the 5000 series of graphics cards. So I'm curious to see what that looks like. We should be dropping later this year. So
yeah. It seems like graphics cards have gotten quiet in the last.
Well, they're just so expensive now.
Yeah.
They just price
there was a few
out.
debacles. AMD kind of did some weird things, and
AMD
or Nvidia did some weird things. That just
they did weird things with both performance and pricing. It's been they alienated a lot of the other fan base, and they don't care. They're focused on data centers, honestly.
Yeah, so. True. And they did some weird things for miners, and so that got weird.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
But what can we do? We've got it's either AMD or Nvidia. Nvidia still makes the best cards.
That's it. Yeah.
Or Intel, I guess, if you want to go down that road.
Okay. Well, I mean, the Microsoft video card. So, if you want, it's funny. It really, there seemed like we were having a lot of conversations about those a couple years ago. And then it's kind of the price, they became available again. The miners during COVID stripped them clean. Everybody had to have them. And
it's not fun anymore. Like
well, pricing got ahead of itself. So they were a gajillion dollars because they weren't in supply. People were stealing them off trucks and stuff.
I remember during COVID or around that time, going to Micro Center because they would get shipments. I think it was Tuesday and Thursday. You would go at like 7 a.m. You would get a voucher ticket, and then you'd stand there until they opened, and they would let you know if your ticket was selected. That's how badly people wanted these cards, and just any card. People would buy any card, anyone. It was crazy. It was a different time. I mean,
well, I think we talked to you after you had gotten the last time or two times ago. You'd gotten in and gotten a card.
Yeah, that was a 3080, I think. That was way back. That was 2 generations ago.
Yeah. It's been a while. It's been a while on that. I think when I built this one, I put a 3060 in because that's all I really need. I didn't
solid card.
I didn't need much.
I don't think I need a 4080, but
you do. No, you do. you do. You want?
Well, thank you. You made me feel better.
You deserve it. You after what you've been through the last 2 years, you deserve it, Jay.
Fair.
So I hope the best for you. Jay, thanks for saying yes and coming back on and being a part of the show. Like I said, there were some folks that were looking forward to hearing this episode. Always good to catch up with you. Congratulations on getting married, new place, all that other stuff that you did. I appreciate that. I'll look forward to, I loved your videos. And so I will encourage you as soon as you can get back into the YouTube space. Yeah, you mentioned, and listen, this is not I've had the same conversation. The PC space got a little boring for a while.
Yeah, it really did. It's unfortunate. So,
but
I do, the channel is called Everything for a reason because it really wasn't supposed to just be PC. It just kind of evolved that way. So, I think I'm going to start covering other stuff as well for now, at least.
Good. Yeah, Tek Everything, TEK Everything. Tek Everything. I think you can find that on YouTube, youtube.com/@Tek Everything if you want to catch up. And is there a social network? Are you doing any of the X?
Yeah, it's the same Tek Everything on all channels.
Okay.
I got X, Instagram, I think Facebook too. Not that I checked that, but it's there. It exists.
Okay. Yeah. And you can check out Jay on that. Can you hang out for 1 second while I close things up? Is that okay?
Sure.
Couple reminders on the way out. If you want to join our Discord group, head over to theaverageguy.tv/Discord. Nicest group on the internet. I appreciate you guys that do that. There's just a handful of us out there, but good conversations and lots of great stuff out there. Theaverageguy.tv/Discord. If you want to leave me a message for the show, go to homegadgetgeeks.com. There's a microphone in the bottom right-hand corner. Click on that. Leave a 30-second message. Then email me, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and tell me you left that message. I don't get an automatic reminder of that when they're there. Let me know that. Of course, the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners, gets secure, reliable, high-speed hosting for just about anything. And Christian can do just about anything. He's still doing some plans for $10. You can't even get coffee for $10 these days. Jay, are you a coffee drinker at all, Jay?
No, my wife is though.
Oh my God.
She's got all the machines. I think she has like 3 different machines in the
She had
house.
Nespresso
Yep.
and Ninja and
And then a standard whatever.
like
Yeah,
a
she has
Keurig.
Keurig, Nespresso, and then I think she just have a regular coffee as well,
It's
or a
cheap. That's the
cappuccino.
cheaper way to do it, to be
Yeah,
honest. I have an
yeah,
espresso and then I use a little frother if I want to make a
yeah.
latte. And
Got that little.
because
Yeah, she's got it all.
Starbucks, I went and bought just
Crazy.
a latte, and it was $7.50, and I'm like,
Yeah.
geez, guys.
It's like graphics cards.
And seriously, it's crazy. Anyways, check it out. For more information, go to maplegrovepartners.com. Christian would love to set you up on a plan, and Maple Grove continues to just do a great job out there. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. I'm open next week, so I need to fill that. I do plan to be here. Then Mark Robson is coming July 25th, and it's going to be the all grill and barbecue show for the summer.
Oh,
yeah. So you might want to tune in.
I will definitely be
in the new place. Are you grilling or smoking or any of those kinds of things?
Tragic. It's tragic. So I've got a balcony, but I can't have a charcoal grill.
Oh, yeah.
It's unfortunate, but
no grills at all. Can you do? You can't do.
I can do electric. So what I've done is I'm looking at it's like a pellet electric grill that gives you at least the smoke. I know everyone is saying this is the worst thing ever. It's a crime, but it's what I can do. It's what I can do. So.
It's okay. It's actually okay that you can do that. You need to find a friend who you could go and.
Well, I go to my parents. I go to my dad's, and we grill. We just they've got the whole deck and all that stuff.
They close? Are they close by?
Yeah, about 15-20 minutes.
It's a good excuse to have a beer or smoke a cigar or whatever with dad. Dad's like that, Jay. Dad's like that. So if you live close by, you'd be doing it at my house. So 100%. But dad's like that. So next week, 2 weeks from now, Mark will be on, and we'll catch up with him and all things grilling and all things smoking and all things all things in that space. Want to thank you guys for the folks who joined us to come out live. Thanks for doing that. Jay, again, thanks for being here. We'll be back next week. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Jay, thanks again. Appreciate you. Thanks
for having me.
Yeah,
it's always fun. Just talking to that guy. Could do this every day. Honestly.
Did you get a new chair, or is that
Yeah, this is a steel case of Mia, actually. So
nice.
Yeah, my old chair was literally shredding my back. Like I was yeah. I had to get a new one.
Yeah,
because I sit in this chair at least 8 hours a day.
Yeah, because you're fully at home
full time.
You're working fully remote, I guess is what I should say. Full-time. Yeah, you gotta that was a huge mistake on my part during COVID not to get a really I should have spent $500 on a really good chair or whatever.
Easy. And I got this one from a company called BTOD, and so it's refurbished, but they refresh them, and so it's like $1,000 chair that was $400, and it's functionally brand new.
Yeah,
so it's worth checking out if anyone's looking for a good deal on really good chairs.
What is it again?
BTOD.
BTOD. Okay, I'll have to check it out.
Just make sure that's .com. Yeah, BTOD.com.
Cool. So I have to check that out. I've got a fairly decent one, but I'm not sitting down here anymore. So it it's like, well, I just picked it up maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
And then I kind of started going full time. So, and I have a pretty decent one. I have a stand-up desk at work, which is really kind of nice. So I move back and forth between the chair and
it sounds like they're taking care of you guys over there.
Yeah, it's not bad. Listen, the stand-up desk I have 4 programmable settings for it.
Yeah.
And you can set it and then press and hold, and then it goes back.
That's pretty
nice.
Sometimes I miss the office, honestly.
Yeah.
Every now and then. It would be nice. Especially when you're trying to collab with people.
Yeah.
It's tough online.
It's a lot easier to go, hey, out the door. Yeah. Hey, hey, do you have, and so you have a 5-minute meeting that you'd set up a Zoom call
Right.
for somebody, or
Yeah.
it just it is that part is more convenient. And then I've been working out again, which we have a
Oh, nice.
fitness center, so that's kind of nice.
Really nice.
Yeah, kind of nice.
Maybe
We
I
have a
need to
great
get working out.
cafeteria, got a great fitness center. We have trails all over. We
Oh,
have
that's cool.
a B cycle, which is those bikes you can rent.
Oh, yeah.
Right on, almost right there, you can just get on one and go ride if you want to do that kind of
So
thing.
I understand why you wanted to go back in the office.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not
It's
just
not
like a
bad.
cubicle in a
No,
you
no,
get the whole
no. We do have
cafeteria,
some good.
gym.
I have a studio there too, which is kind of helpful
Nice.
to do. I had been doing for I kind of moved everything home. Pre-pandemic, I was I go in at midnight to do a call for a recording.
Yeah.
But then it got easy during the pandemic. I just do it here. And then one of my senior executives is like, "Hey, we built you this nice studio while, during COVID," because they started a new studio pre-COVID, and then it didn't get finished until, let's say, July of that year. Well, we didn't come back till 2 years later. Right?
Yeah.
So I just sat there. And then I got comfortable podcasting at home, and they were like, "Hey, could you, we built you this nice studio.
Could you just use that?
Could you use that every once in a while? We'd like to see that." Okay. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. I'll come and use this. I'll come and use the studio.
It's nice of them to do that.
For sure. Guys, Jay, hang on tight for me 1 second. If you're listening live, thanks for coming out. We'll see you back next week. I don't have a guest yet, but we'll get one lined up. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.